Two of my favorite developers, Arturia and Sugarbytes, have released multi-effect sequencers. I love this kind of effects, they are really fun and really useful for many purposes, from subtle ear candy to complete destruction. And today we'll check these two plugins, compare them, and help you decide which one is better for you, but only if you give a like to this video. Just kidding. I love multi-effect sequencers so much that I even made one using Bitwig's grid, so when Sugarbytes and Arturia launched their own, I was excited to play with them. Of course, this is not something new for Sugarbytes, this is Effectrix 2 after all, and besides that, they also have another sequencer-based effect called Operator. So Effectrix is a grid-based sequencer where each square activates each effect. You can change the order between them, and every effect will have different parameters to change here at the bottom. For instance, the grain. We can change the tempo, the grain size, the density, pitch, width, and jitter. Besides that, you have 10 different modulation options for each parameter, from value transitions, to step sequencers, pulse sequencer, envelope follower, an envelope, LFOs, and a random. You just have to choose a knob, choose a modulator, and then you can start editing. Each modulators will also have their own parameters. And we can also select different types of parameters by clicking the names below the knobs. That way you can find many different stuff, for instance, different types of filter. The effects are the following: two types of loopers, one based on repetitions and optional changes in pitch, and the other based on a sort of a scratched effect. Grain is basically a granular effect. Then we have ring modulation, distortion with beat crusher and downsampling, a filter, and a vinyl and tip stop effect. We also got a phaser, a modulation which is chorus and flanger, and spectrum, which will apply spectral effects. And the tonalizer will create resonances to create tones that can go from a single tone to full chords. Finally, the most simple ones are the delay, reverb, and level. The examples so far are really simple, so let's make something more complex. Finally, well, you can change the time division, the length of the sequence, you have excellent randomizers for individual effects or for the whole grid, and what's even better, these keys right here can be assigned to your MIDI keyboard, and each one is going to be a different effect grid. Now, on the other hand, Efx Motions looks more like a modulation-based multi-effect rather than a step sequencer multi-effect. You create movement following this shape, similar to the functions of other Arturia software. At the left, you have the rate controls, and at the right, the effect amount. Also, at first glance, it has a small amount of effects. We have a filter with the staple Arturia modes, like clean, analog, and surgical. A noise generator with a large library of sounds, all of them constant but really unique, and you can also import your own. Then we have a distortion, again with many of the best distortion types of other Arturia software. And finally we have volume and panning. Now, what's interesting are the triggering and dynamic options. For trigger, the default is a clock, but you can change it into a sequence envelope. After that, we have the Euclidean envelope, which is similar, but now the triggers are organized in Euclidean rhythms. The transient will trigger the envelope with, well, transients, and it has a threshold and sidechain filtering, so you can fine-tune the triggers. So you see, so much more than a simple function generator. After all of these, we have another tab, the beat, repeat, and effects. This one offers different time-based effects for looping and repetition, and as you can see, it's a grid-based sequencer. Roll and reverse are straightforward. pitch and stretch go down 12 semitones, stretch is a change of pitch but not in time, and pitch will change the time too. Finally, stop is a tape stop effect. After all of that, you can select two effects, again many of the best arturia effects for any of their software, and you can change the order between these two effects and the beat repeat. Besides that, at the top you have two macros and also a filter so you affect only one part of the spectrum. And as it's expected by any plugin by Arturia, you have advanced features. On advanced you have the routing for the macros, but also you have 3 modulator slots. You can choose them to be a function, a sequencer, a random, and even an envelope follower. So it's not only creating movement for the filter, the noise, the drive, the volume and the pan, but also you can modulate almost any parameter on this effect, which will give you deeper rhythmic results. So yeah, both plugins are really advanced, and each one has a unique user interface and workflow. For instance, I like from Effectrix that you have a lot more effects, and you can sequence also the delay and the reverb. On the other hand, the modulation on Efx Motions is more intuitive and it has a bigger interface, so it's faster to set up. So as I said, both plugins are really different, but this video is not about which one is better, rather it's about how different developers take a similar concept and make it unique. At the end, either one will give you excellent results. What's important is which one fits better your workflow. So let me know in the comments which one is your favorite step sequencer multi-effect. Also give a like to this video. Thank you so much for watching, I will see you next time, and bye bye!